Now, we had a conversation yesterday about the Duke and Duchess of Netflix, as I call them, in Montecito, California, because it was announced, of course, and all over the front pages yesterday that Meghan Markle was indeed pregnant and that she and Harry were going to be having their second child later on this year. That story was followed up rather swiftly by the news that broke yesterday, late sort of afternoon, early evening, that they've also agreed to do an interview with Oprah Winfrey. Now, you know how this is going to go. They're going to sit on the sofa. They're going to be holding hands, looking lovingly into each other's eyes. Meghan is going to throw the royal family under the bus. A lot of people will be very much happy about that. A lot of people will be cheering her on. Let's talk to Mark Bukowski, branded PR guru, to the stars to find out what he makes of it all. Mark, very good morning to you.
Hi, Mike.
Do you see the image that I've just created? I mean, you can see it, can't you? You can sit there looking lovingly at each other, poisonously firing darts at Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Kensington Palace. I mean, it's going to be great viewing, I dare say. But is it necessary?
Well, look, this has always been about, their brand and what they have to say, what they feel. They've migrated. They've got their safe space now to build their brand. They've got their big deals. What's happened in the life of Meghan and Harry, particularly since winning the case against the Mail on Sunday, they're in a really strong position. And make no mistake, it's changed the whole temperament about how celebrities would expect to be treated by the press in terms of interviews and coverage, particularly news. So, she's blazed a trail. The wind is in their mainsail, and they're in a very strong position. But yes, of course, this is about them. They've got to make a lot of money. They've got a lot of commitment. If they're going to achieve this, they need everything running in their favour. And of course, listen, Mike, if you were writing a drama series or even a parody, Oprah Winfrey, doing an interview with Oprah Winfrey would be the narrative. I mean, it's an incredible coup to have such a soft interview where they will be looking at each other and they will be cooing and they'll be getting across their touchy-feely brand messages.
They will. But the thing that I find fascinating about all of this is that the very thing that they profess to detest, i.e. the royal family and its unsavoury kind of connotations and its connections to all sorts of historical horrors as far as she is concerned, is the very thing that they're selling. So if they actually were to break away from the royal family, and there's some conversations going on now that the royals may retaliate in some way, shape or form, that they won't have anything to sell anymore. Because without the royal family, they're just another pair of narcissists in California.
Well, they're building something. I mean, they're building a platform in America, and they're taking the level of notoriety they have by being close to the rules to something they can build from to create something that's significant. And I've been predicting, for over a year now that Meghan has political aspirations. And I noticed in one of the Washington Post and one of the big American journals, they started to recount exactly the same. That this is a woman who has huge ambition, who possibly wants to be the first, if the time comes, female president of the US. I mean, the Daily Star's front page yesterday was absolutely brilliant.
Genius. Yeah, absolutely.
This child woman tells 7.67 billion people I'm pregnant. That's what we all feel here.
Yes.
We're laughing at it. We can see the exploitation. But at the end of the day, this is America. America see it through a totally different lens. And if you're going to make big bucks, if you're going to build a significant brand, America is that the homeland that they are choosing to do that from, and they're succeeding.
They're succeeding up to a point. I'm slightly more sceptical than you are, Mark, because as well as I do, there is a tipping point with celebrity, isn't there? That you can become a little bit too craven. You can become a little bit too kind of unbelievable. And I think she's verging on that. I don't think she's a superstar in any way, shape or form in terms of her pulling power. Yes, they've got some clout with Netflix and obviously with any podcast that you might want to shake your fist at. But that's more about him and his connections than it is about her. And I think that she is not somebody who the bulk of Americans will be drawn to, really.
Well, Americans have huge patriotism for their own at the end of the day, so don't underestimate that. But of course, I mean, I'm still trying to find anybody that saw Suits that Meghan supposedly saw. And of course, as soon as you marry into a royal family and you get close to Harry, you're upgraded in your celebrity status. You go from B-list to A-list immediately. And she wasn't A-list and she isn't A-list. It's interesting to see what they will do on their Netflix platform. So, you know, the jury is out on that. You never know. They might have a global hit if they get the right team about them. Somehow, I doubt it, but don't underestimate that. But Americans love their own, as I said, and they'll be egging them on. And to a certain extent, all that glitter and all that glamour that comes from UK establishment, you know, filters down and actually encrusts them in this sort of sheen.
But this is what I mean. This is what I mean by how fascinating it's going to become, because the very thing that they are castigating, i.e. the royal family, is the thing that most of America, and by far more of America than likes her, loves the royal family.
Well, they're moving slightly away from that. They're creating their own brand. Of course, they are inheriting that sheen, as I said, but to a certain extent, they're building something that isn't the royal family, that is their own foundation. And I would be interested to see if there is some barbs about the way that they were treated, because I don't think they'll be able to resist that, to talk about how difficult it's been. And there will be a lot of sob stories. There'll be some tears. You can see the script now that isn't premeditated, but it will fall into a certain tram line that they'll power through. But the underlying issue is where the future lies with this. And as you said, will the public or will the American public get bored with her? I think the UK public, you know, a younger audience still buy into her because she does echo those snowflakey views. So there's
even she's getting bored with herself. I mean, she's got a very short attention span, not only for members of her own family, but also for her friends and also for her issues. And the whole idea of the kind of anti-royalist royal is one of these things you're kind of going, well, that narrative is sort of uncopyrightable, isn't it? I mean, how on earth can they continue to sell something that they're part of that they don't want to be part of?
Well, they're going to have to find, you know, new stories, you know, to move away from this. And I suspect they'll want to do that. But do you know what? When you've got some comparable lifestyles going on, you know, they'll forever be compared. He'll be compared to his brother. She'll be compared to her sister-in-law. And, you know, while you've got the sort of growing battle that still exists between the two households, you know, William and Kate versus Harry and Meghan, that's what will keep the story going, because for every blow, you know, that is struck, there's a counter blow. And I suspect it's a nightmare for the royal family to see them re-energized in this way and succeeding. And there doesn't seem to be any rapprochement going on. But, you know, in terms of building something, they're on that journey. And we, you know, for whatever negativity we might feel to what's been happening at the moment, you've got to look at things in the cold light of day. And if they get this right, they're on an interesting trajectory.
Yeah, I think that's correct, but I think they're going to get it massively wrong. And I'll tell you why, because I think they don't have any judgment. I don't think they've got too many brains between them. I think she's clearly the one with this sort of nous about how to manipulate the public and indeed him. But I don't think they're as big in America as we think they are, because I think we give them way too much importance. I mean, I've seen some people today on social media saying maybe we should just ignore them and they'll go away. But it's too good of a story, isn't it?
It's you know, absolutely, you know, you would have covered this in the past. You can't ignore it. It's box office, and of course newspapers and traditional media and also new media. It's clickbait. It's revenue, and they generate interest. People will click on that story, and while that's still going, positive, negative, there's money in it, and for those who are holding the platforms.
Yeah, I mean, we used to talk, Mark, when I was in a deep and dark past, a member of Her Majesty's Press, about box office in terms of what sold newspapers. Princess Diana undoubtedly did. Not quite sure anyone else has ever come close to that. And I don't think she has come close to that. But what's the modern day equivalent of you know, a magazine cover that would sell millions, or a newspaper front page that would sell millions? How do you measure that now?
Well, you don't measure it in the old terms. In fact, on the basis that there was one place to read the story, you know, whether a weekend tabloid got hold of it, there was nowhere else for it to go.
Yeah.
All that is harvested out. There isn't any money in news, but what there is sort of a continual stream of stories that allow people to click on a story and you can be served an ad. So there isn't the same, you can't generate the same sort of money in the way that personalities did, but in terms of turning people onto your Instagram feed and accumulating numbers on your YouTube channel or whatever, that's all advertising revenue. That's all clickbait. That's all down to the data that we're all giving away as we curiously want to get into that story. And of course, they're written in such a way as to be short fire, fast moving, not too many long reads. What's next? It's a constant moving through that sort of gears to serve as much up as possible to get as much data out of those reading it. So it's a different economic cycle, but over a pace of time, if you keep the story running, if you're there sort of handing out sort of content to the likes of the Mail Online, and then you're channeling that back through to your own sites, and they're building a significant Instagram following, advertisers and those people who want to serve their ads through your sites are going to be interested.
Yes, I think you're right. Mark, great to talk to you again. Thank you very much indeed. Mark Bukowski, brand and PR guru there, talking to us about the phenomenon, which I'm afraid it still is, of Meghan and Harry. I don't think it's going to run and run. I really don't think they're going to get it right. And in fact, I think they're going to get it massively wrong. And I think a lot of people will feel that both she and Harry are a pair of ungrateful narcissists who just want to pick and pick and pick away who is the leader, the queen of this country, right? And the head of the royal family, who has done brilliant things for this nation and for the world, actually, and for the Commonwealth, and for them to use her as a kind of kicking machine, a reason for them to become famous, a reason for them to become more famous and to make money, I think is pretty distasteful, don't you?